So Ubay said, did Allah mention my name? He said, yes. He almost fainted and he started crying. Well, imagine when you receive a salam from Allah. It just, and then on top of that, you have this privilege that you will have this castle because you're about to leave. And that's she died. That relationship didn't end with her death. She died, and that's why Yasir ibn Ammar, he said, Ammar ibn Yasir, sorry, he said that 3 years, it's called Amul Huzn, the year of sadness, because his uncle Abu Talib died, and right after that, Khadijah, some they say weeks, 2 months, 3 months, she passed away. So the Prophet was so sad, they call it so sad, and he lost his uncle who supported him, against Quraysh. But the main thing which has been, is that he has lost his love, Khadijah radiallahu anha, and he has never forgotten her. Years pass by, they are in Medina, married Aisha radiallahu anha and all that. So Aisha herself, she said that the Prophet kept, remembering Khadijah to the point I get jealous of her. So she was showing, what are you doing? This woman, she was an old woman, and Allah has replaced her with a younger, beautiful woman. She was referring to herself. She said, La kalla wallah, no wallah, Allah didn't give me better than her. She supported me, she believed in me when everybody has rejected me. She supported me with her finance, with wealth, but everybody has, taken that away from me. And she has believed in me, where others they didn't. And I have been blessed having children from her, while I didn't have them from others. And that's why Aisha, she said, when she saw how the Prophet, has this love for her, she said, I would never, say anything bad about her. And even one time, he was with Aisha in his home, and then he overheard a voice, so he rushed. He said, Allahumma hala, oh Allah, make it Hala. Hala is the sister of Khadijah. She has the same voice. Her voice. So when the Prophet overheard, he jumped. He said, oh Allah, make it Hala. So just to remember, to remind him of Khadijah. After years, he didn't forget that. We look at Zainab, radiallahu anha, when she was her husband, Al-As ibn Abi Rabi', when he was taken as a prisoner in Badr, his wife, he was not Muslim at the time, and his wife was Zainab, the oldest daughter of the Prophet. She was in Mecca. So, they have to pay, to release, everybody has to release, or if they don't, then you have to teach. So he didn't have enough money, so Ruqayya, which is Zainab, the daughter of the Prophet, and Al-As ibn Abi Rabi', her husband, she sent her necklace for the Muslims to pay his freedom, so he can. When the Prophet saw that, when he saw the necklace, it reminded him of Khadijah. And he felt so bad, because that was Khadijah's gift to her daughter in her wedding, that necklace to Zainab. And he asked the Sahabah, he gave them that choice. It's up to you. If you want to free him and give her back her necklace, it's up to you. And the Sahaba, they when they saw how the Prophet has reacted when he saw that necklace, because it reminded him of Khadijah, so they free him and they give him the necklace, as if almost like he was saying to Zainab, please don't lose this necklace. And after that, he came to his people. He said, and then he took his wife and he became a Muslim after that. So the story is, go back to that love story I told you about, that not only that love stayed in the marriage, but continued until his death. He has never died. At the same time, this woman, radiallahu anha, by her actions, by her, to support him alayhi salatu salam, because she knows what he is facing. I mean, you are going out, the hardship that you face all the time, and then when you come home, the least you, that's the place that you feel at ease. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, I think in Surah Rum, الذي خلق لكم من أنفسكم أزواجا لتسكنوا إليها. In Arabic, it is second. It's where you second. It's the home is where you are at ease. You are comfortable. You have, it's not when you go, you try to run away from it. It's the place where you run to it. And unfortunately, it happens in our life. People, they run away from their homes. Not, I don't blame the woman, but it's combination. But what happened is, look at when the Prophet has faced this, the first person he went to share these things with him, it was his wife, because of the trust, because he knows that this woman, not only she's going to make fun of me, but she's going to be on my side. She's going to support me. You know, she has done that without me already asking her for anything, like, you know, her wealth and all that. She was like, you know, anything. Although he didn't have anything to offer her material things. Like, he was not like, you know, one of the richest men or something like that. At least there's a benefit here. You know, the Prophet was a shepherd before that. You know, he was to, you know, shepherd. Now she is, but he has that characteristic, that character. That's why when she was looking for a husband, she was not looking, as I said in the beginning, for the physical aspect, which there is a percentage in that one, but she was looking more for characters. And that's why that combination between the Tahira and Sadiq al-Amin, the product was Fatima, al-Hassan, al-Hussein, you know, all this, you know, that we have, we call them Ahl al-Bayt. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم واستغفروه وجزاكم الله خير. If you have any questions, welcome. I think we have made it, mashallah, in one session.
Yeah.
We missed even the salat.
I have a quick question about two questions I have. Did she? I mean, when she died, right? Was her death a result of the boycott? And like, so did she? I mean, because I've read that it was from. She basically died of not starvation, but like malnourishment, and her health severely deteriorated because of the boycott.
Yes, a lot of the scholars, they say she died because of the boycott for two reasons. First, because she was old, she was like 65 years old. Second thing is because of the boycott, anything with the food was not there. That's why I told you some of they were eating, you know, the plants, the leathers and nothing. So that maybe that has contributed to it. Because, you know, her time came, you know, that was maybe only one of the reasons, but her time was up. And for one reason or another one, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put her in his life for a certain time, for 25 years. And then after that he put others like Aisha. So each one has a role to play in his life. And each one has a role to play for us to learn from. We learn from Aisha radiallahu anha, we learn from Khadijah, we learn from Hafsa, we learn from Zainab, we learn from Maymuna, or Maria. So each one of them has something to offer. That's why we learn this, the Hayat al-Sahabah, women or men. So everybody has something to offer for us to learn from. Yeah. Yes, sir.
If the Sahabahs were chosen by Allah and were talked about in the Torah and in the Bible, isn't it predestination that she was chosen from birth to be this to him and to the Muslim woman? So she was given special characters.
Well, that we go to. That's another subject. If we go to al-qada or al-qadar, if we go to it, it will be another session. But let's make it easy. Allah Almighty, He knows everything, you know. So you were chosen to live in this time. Maybe if you were chosen to live at that time, you will be with Abu Jahl. Okay, you will be fighting the Prophet. You will be like, you know, Abu Lahab, his uncle, and his wife, the closest one. And they choose to fight. And not only that, the revelation of Abu Lahab to go to hell with his wife was revealed while they're still alive.
Yeah.
So in other words, they could have defied the Quran to become Muslim. That's it. So say alhamdulillah, like one Sahabi, one time Tabi'i, he was telling to the Sahabi, oh mashallah, you've been blessed that Allah has chosen you, and you lived with the Prophet, you saw him, and you supported him and all that. Then this Sahabi was so smart, he said, listen, we have people who has lived at the time of the Prophet, and some of them they believed in him, some they have rejected him. What guarantee that you have if you lived among them you will support? Maybe you rejected him.
Yeah.
So he said to him, thank Allah that you have received this Islam without going through that challenge, to that hardship. You have received it because what? I told you that in the beginning when we have our Seerah, it's not that easy. You have a friend today, the next morning he said, you are a prophet. So simple like this. He put you right on the spot, challenge. I am a prophet. What are you going to do? And that's that's why Abu Bakr Siddiq, like Khadijah, they have reached that level. Every single one, the Prophet himself, he said, everybody who has invited to Islam has that pause, except Abu Bakr. Khadijah right away.
Wow.
So imagine when you are living in a place very simple, and you already have an establishment as a hierarchy of religion and all that. It already been established centuries. And you have a friend, all of a sudden he comes up, and he was with you. You were playing with him. You did trade with him. You see him in the market. You see him. Then the next morning he comes up. You know what? I have received a revelation. I'm a prophet, and if this thing is false, you have to believe me and follow me. It's not that easy of a challenge for people, and only the one who has been, Allah knows their heart. He looks at their hearts. It's a question of heart. Go ahead, Bob.
I would imagine that this young man was just going through life, and all of a sudden there was maybe an environment of expectation that someone was coming up into their midst, and he didn't know it was him per se.
It was not something that it was known.
He didn't haul off and say,
"Oh, no, of course,
I'm going to be that."
No,
person.
all the prophets, we know that. If you have been with us in the lectures before, all the prophets, they don't know they are prophet. They're going to be chosen prophet, because prophethood is not something that you acquire because of your. Meaning, you cannot like you go study that further, then you become prophet.
There's no degree.
Or you go like say in some mountain meditation. All of a sudden that it's something that it's almost like you acquire. It's Allah Almighty. Allah said it clear in the verse. He chose, and He chose based on things that He knows. Now, for the Prophet ﷺ, Quraysh, the people there, they were worshipping idols. They are not people of the book. Few people, they have like waraqa, and because they do the trade with the Christians, so they come in interaction with them. Even when Abu Sufyan went to Palestine and Hercules was there, he was asking him. So there is, but we talk at the masses, this is not something it was like out there. But only one group of people, they knew about it, and they were ready for it, and they were looking for it, is the people of the book, the Jews. It's something they were sharing, almost all of them, that the time is so close, the prophet of the last time, and he is the criteria. And they were looking, and they know, they don't know exactly where he's going to be at, but the area basically, as I told the last time in my class, I said, in other words, you say, okay, there's the last prophet will come from North America. Well, North America, we have Mexico, United States, and Canada. It's a huge. Yeah. Then I say, okay, well, it comes from North America, but next to the Great Lakes. Now you are narrow it a little bit to Great Lakes. So this is basically what he will come from a place. So they narrow it to that's what, to Khaybar, to Medina, where the trees and all that, and they were within there. So it's a generation after generation because it's in their book.
The prophet, he doesn't know. Yeah.
So, but himself, and they expected him to come from from their own. But the prophet himself, any prophet, he doesn't know that he is a prophet. He's going to be a prophet. But the way he's brought up, any prophet, the way they are being brought up in such a way that they are being almost, because Allah said, "Litusna ala aini." I'm watchful. I'm the one who takes care of you, not physically, but you are guided. Like Musa alayhi salam, he was raised inside Pharaoh's castle, qasr. while Pharaoh, he was looking for him outside.
Yeah.
You know, he was looking from outside, looking from everywhere, but and the one who was reading the stars, they were telling him that he will come from this people, but that's why he was challenged. But Allah had made him to take care of him. You take care of the one that he will destroy your temple. So, but Moses, even himself, when he was fighting with that, he didn't know that he is a prophet. But that's why I said, you know, Allah put people and circumstances even for this prophet. Like, you know, he put, you know, that he went to this Midian, and then he married the daughters. He stayed there for some time. Similarly for the prophet, he was married Khadijah, and then he has been, he has Abu Talib, his uncle, to support him. When he was walking places, you know, he could hear things. So all these things contributed, but he himself, he thought that he has been hit. Even when Khadijah, there's a story I missed, but I will share it with you. When to confirm, he said, "Do you see this man?" Because after that, Jibril came to him. He said, "Yes, I see him." So she said, "There's a story that says, sit on my right lap." He said, "Do you see him?" He said, "Yes, I see him." She said, "Sit on my left lap." She said, "You can see him?" He said, "Yes, I can see him." So Jibril was right there, and I said, "Sit on my front, like in my front." She said, "Do you see him?" "Yeah, I can still see him." And then what she took her khimar. She used not like we said khimar, but just something to cover her. She threw that away. He said, "Do you see him?" He said, "No, I don't see him." He said, "That's an angel." Shaitan will stay there. Look at the woman whether naked or not. But the angel, no, he lives. She said, "That's an angel. That's not." So it's just to support him that what you see, it's not a ghost. It's not something. It's a real angel. So all those things, you know, the prophet he sees, like, you know, after this revelation came, another revelation came. But that the time when Jibril was sitting on a chair between earth and heaven, he covered the whole space. He saw him in his real physical. The prophet felt on his back. He was so frightened because he covered the whole horizon. Now, physically, he starts seeing things like, you know, it's not like a hallucination or something. And then he can hear things. But what happened is, that's why we go back to Khadijah. She gave him that support that you are a prophet. He needs someone to, like, you know, yes, you are. That's why Abu Bakr Siddiq comes here as Siddiq as well.
Like his bedrock.
So, you know, am I seeing something by myself? Am I getting crazy? Am I hallucinating? I mean, can anybody see it? I hear the voices. So when you do that by yourself, sometimes you think you're going crazy. But imagine you have a wife. She doesn't see those. She doesn't even hear that. But she believes in you. She supported you. And that's why Khadijah radiallahu anha has gone to, you know, the highest level. She has the Siddiqeen. It's almost like Darajat al-Ihsan, as she has seen those things with her own eyes. And this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent straight salam to her. You know, the things that she can. I mean, imagine when you receive salam from Allah, you faint. Wallah, you evaporate.
I have one more question about, technical question. In Tariq Ramadan's book, also I read it, Riza Islam. I know you're not a fan of either of them. They both said that there's a question, the certainty of her age is in question a little bit. They said the majority of ulama say she was 40 at the time of the Prophet ﷺ married her, but there's some question she could have been as young as 28.
I heard
what
that.
do you know about this?
Yeah, I know about it. You know, there was a question about her age. There's even question is even the Prophet has received, he was being at the Hira. There's even question to that in the cave
during Revelation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
I've never heard of that.
Okay, so I'm telling you extra thing that.
Yeah.
There is
we don't need more doubt.
No. Anybody can throw that. What happened is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said for Quran, قُلْ هَاتُوا بُرْهَانَكُمْ إِن كُنْتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. Bring your evidence, proof if you are saying the truth. Anybody can throw, yes, of course, I am aware. But when these things has to do with, call it an-naql, the revelation, the authentication. Now, most of the muhaddithin, all the scholars, you know, it becomes almost like, I won't say ijma', but the majority, this is what they say. Now, you have other opinions here and there. They are there. If they were not there, how did you know about them?
Yeah.
You know, if they were not there. So how do you, but they are there. But does the majority consider it? No, they don't. So it's an opinion. It's there, but it's not as something it has substantial evidence. Like one of the great Maliki scholar, he lived in he lived at the time Ibn Hazm, like 4th century. He lived in Spain, and his name is Abu al-Walid al-Baji, and he wrote a book. He's a great Maliki scholar, no doubt about that. He was challenging Ibn Hazm. He's the one who has defeated Ibn Hazm in debate. That's what they say. But he wrote a book to prove that the Prophet can read and write.
Okay.
And he said the Prophet didn't know how to read and write before the Wahy. But after the Wahy, he can read and he put evidence there. Now, that's an opinion there. Like we call it the shawad, the unique or something like that. But do you take that as something, to challenge what's known out there? No. It's an opinion there, but doesn't have substantial evidence to prove that
So
the majority.
It's not
So,
material.
as a matter of fact, a lot of what's called Maliki, they even make him that he's kafir because he's denied something in the Quran.
Yeah.
And then they call it, well, it's too extreme. That's an opinion. It's out there. And we have plenty of those things, not only that. But where we go with the majority opinion.
So it's not something that's really debated. It's more.
It is there, but it's not something. It has evidence, support evidence. It's there. Okay. I am aware, but he was when she was like 28, and even her death. They said she didn't die in 65. She died when she was like in her 50s.
Yeah.
So it's not.
It's not material. I mean,
but majority, she died at 65.
So you said when she was, right. So when she said wa huwa salam wa ala Jibril salam wa alayhi salam. So when she was. I mean, did she know then that she was going to die? I mean, what's our...
No, there was no...
Do you think that she had an intuition of that, or no?
I don't know about that, but what she... because when she was received that, she was walking. She was not in a deathbed. She was coming with food to the Prophet.
Well, yeah.
So if you read that, she was still healthy. She was still walking. So she died maybe that year. When? Allah knows. But... I don't think, maybe she took it as a message, maybe, but it's only that she has received this, gratitude from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to give her this and to give him bishara, that you will encourage, you will be rewarded, such a, and it has happened to even the other companions, like I told you, Ubay ibn Ka'b, the one who recites the Quran, and the Prophet asked him to recite verses of the Quran, then he said, I recite the Quran for you, and you are the one who received revelation, and you want me to recite it. So he looked at him. He said, Allah asked me to ask you.
Wow.
Then he stopped. He
That's
said,
an honor.
he said, did Allah mention my name? He said, yes. And then he started crying. So he didn't look at what the Prophet was asking him. He looked at Allah mentioned his name. And he started crying. So did it mean that he's going to be dying after that? But this is a virtue that Allah has considered that his recitation is one of the best recitations. That's what it is. And he is one of the when you read the qira'at, the recitation tests, one of them is of the Sahabah.
Styles,
yeah. So,
I think we're pretty much.
Yes, we are done, inshallah. I have to go, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. Thank you all for coming, and we'll see you, inshallah.
Next week, where are we going to cover?
I think we would maybe we go with maybe
Abu Bakr?
Siddiq, inshallah.
Well, I'm going to put a preview out. So, Abu Bakr next week?
Abu Bakr, inshallah.
Would you like to?
If you have any, unless you have preference. Okay.
No,
you have a
Abu
preference?
Bakr sounds good.
Unless I said you guys, you have a preference or something.
Okay.
You do what you are,
No,
Mulana.
you come on there.
Okay.
Dua.
سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. جزاك الله خير.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for coming. And
next week, Abu Bakr at 8 o'clock.
I think we'll.
Is 8 o'clock okay? Or?
I think 8 o'clock is that's what Maghrib will
After
be.
Maghrib, yeah.
I would say maybe. How about we do it 7 o'clock? Because
it's hard for a lot of people to get here by 7. That's why we moved to 7:30 because if it's okay with you, we'll go
that's
after
fine.
Maghrib.
I'm talking about because when you do 8 o'clock, Maghrib is going to be like almost 10 to 8.
Because I got back here like right at 8 after Maghrib there next door.
I drove. I came
So
with my wife.
You didn't ride your camel?
No, I left it outside. It's grazing.
He has
It's grazing. I don't know where it is. Unless it's in the park.
Oh, Jawad, the horse.
Are we going to do Isha here?
I think we prayed Isha already next door.
Thank you.
In here? We're going to do it in here? Or?
We could maybe just go next door and pray real quick. Let me see what time they pray Isha. Isha is, they prayed already, 9:30.
Yeah.
We can run next door and pray real quick.
She got lost on the way over.
We got lost.